I think it's recording now.
Welcome to Fresh Off the Boat. We are delighted to be connected with Karmishta Seth. She's in New Jersey at the moment. She's a student at Scripps College, which is in Claremont, California, outskirts of LA. Karmishta, I know your journey has been interesting from Gurgaon to
Yeah,
Claremont now. We'd
yeah,
love to know about settling in. So welcome to the
yeah.
podcast and tell us more about how was it like when
Fine.
you first moved there into 2017 and now you're a
Yeah,
rising senior. So it'll be some reflections.
yeah.
Happy to hear more about that.
No, it was really interesting. It was very, very different environment from school, very different environment from World Spa, from Gurgaon. So it was definitely an adjustment. I was very lucky to make really good friends right from the start. And my first year was hard in terms of adjusting because I was kind of settling into what I wanted to do in academics. And I ended up having some issues with my roommates because it was just hard adjusting with my roommates. They came from very different backgrounds than I did, and they had different expectations from a roommate than I did. But luckily, Scripps had the resources to help me maneuver that, and it ended up working out really well in my favor because I got even closer to my friends, and it ended up being a very positive learning experience for me on how to learn to be more adjusting and how to deal with conflict. I think that was the first time I really had to deal with conflict management. So that was an experience. You know, it was hard being international because Scripps does not have a very large international student body. So their resources are somewhat limited, but they did the best they could in the situation and it ended up working out really well for me. And then I think the last 2 years I have really flourished. My friend groups have grown, we've all matured, and I think I've just ended up settling in really well because I think Scripps environment has been really conducive to my growth as a person.
Fantastic. I
Yeah,
think your honest answer sort of is good for our listeners because,
yeah,
sometimes you just want to figure out
yeah,
what can go wrong, and
yeah,
roommate
yeah,
conflict is one of those things.
yeah, yeah,
But looking back, I'm sure there's growth in terms
yeah,
of the way you think and
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
look at these situations. Again, settling in also has the other aspect of just figuring out what to do in this new
yeah,
environment, adapting in terms of even
yeah,
signing up for activities or even signing up for classes. What are the
yeah.
different things that you found very different from uh, your life in Gurgaon in India? And what resources did you
Yeah.
start using?
The way you sign up for classes here is, I think, very different from how it is in school. In school, you just had to sign a paper and like you were in the class, but here you get like time slots and you had to fight. You had to go to professors if like the seats had filled up. So that was definitely something I struggled with because I wasn't used to having to go beg a professor to let me into their class. And as a freshman, you don't necessarily get your choice of classes if you don't have a good time. And I lucked out that I did not have a good time my freshman year. So it was a learning experience knowing how to talk to professors and asking them to let you in the class. So it really taught me how to interact with people better. And I ended up getting the classes, and I think I'm very lucky. And Scripps had like wonderful resources to help you out. My dean was like there for me every step of the way when I was trying to get my class. I was emailing her and she was telling to my professor that she really wants to be in the class. So I think they really helped me out in that way. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then gradually,
Yeah.
did you go thinking about math? And then I know you're minoring in biology. Did you go thinking
Yeah.
that you're ending up doing that, or it was a journey?
I had gone in thinking I'd do a combination of English, psychology, and math. And then freshman year, I took an English class and I took a psych class, and I actually really enjoyed my psych class. My English class, not so much. Then I was like thinking, oh, maybe I'll do a psych major. And then sophomore year, I ended up doing a math class, and I really enjoyed that and realized that I want to do like math and bio because I've taken a couple of intro bio classes as well. And I was like, oh, this is something that I'm really good at and I'm really enjoying more than anything else. Then that kind of like set my mind on math and bio. But I thought I'd do a bio major and a math minor, but then I ended up enjoying math a lot more than I was doing bio. So I was like, why not do a math major? Because I've always been good at math, kind of. So I was like, it's a good balance.
Sure, sure. And then, of course, the Claremont Consortium offers interesting possibilities. Did you use
Yeah.
the cross-registration classes at Harvey, Mart, Pomona, Claremont? How does it work?
Yeah. So it's really easy to cross-register. All the classes are on the same portal. So you can literally just sign up for any class you want. And I have taken class at every single college now. I've taken CS at MAR, I've taken bio at Pittsburgh and CMC, I've taken physics chem, and most of my math classes are actually at Pomona. So I have definitely used all five colleges to their math.
So
Yeah.
if you were to describe a math major as to what are the different steps to graduate with math, and then obviously there's different tracks within math as well.
Yeah.
And since you also
Yeah.
have a bio minor, what's the overlap
Yeah.
like? So what's the journey for a math major?
So I always knew that I am not very fan of pure math, which is the more theoretical side of mathematics. I've always been more interested in the analytical side. So most of the classes are geared around stats in math. So I'm taking probability, statistics, mathematics and big data, like these kind of classes that are more analytical and not as much theoretical. So, but usually what I've noticed that the other peers who are doing math majors, they end up sticking to the more theoretical side of math, which is a possibility. It's just much harder and you don't have as many resources to help you out, especially at Scripps, since Scripps does not have a lot of math majors. And that's where the other colleges really come in. So I've just been lucky that my advisor had like focused on analytical math instead of theoretical math. So I haven't had to go outside of Scripps for help in terms of my major track, but I do know that my peers have struggled finding adequate support for theoretical math because it is such a vague field. But I mean, I enjoy it. I really like all my classes. It's hard at first, but once you get the hang of it, the way you think just completely changes in terms of how you approach questions and the entire subject.
Fantastic. And what about like the cusp between biology and math? How did you find opportunities to study as well as
Yeah.
think about maybe a data science application in those areas of
Yeah.
life sciences?
So there are actually courses on biostats and bioinformatics offered at the colleges, which is what I jumped at the opportunity to take because I thought that's a really good intersection. The first course I took was genomics and bioinformatics because I'd gone in thinking maybe I'll do genetic research. And the course ended up being much more computational than I had thought it would be. And I went in as someone who had no computer science experience. And everyone in that class had like done a lot of CS. So I definitely struggled, but I ended up doing really well in the class because I had to work twice as hard. And that's what made me realize that that's something that I'm really enjoying doing. And then I started focusing on like more statistical computational bio classes, which gelled really well with my stats math classes.
So what is the computer science sort of toolkit you need to build or you had to build because you didn't have the
Yeah.
background very quickly? What are the courses or other online or resources that you have to use? Which languages, what platforms are
I
applied?
actually didn't need online courses because my professor was really helpful. She spent time with me outside of class helping me learn Python and R really well because that is kind of the base of all biostats, bioinformatics courses, and even statistical theory and all in math. So Python and R are really, really important languages to know really well, at least in college, because that's kind of what everything is going to be based off of. Then I
Great.
ended up taking CS at MUD. Like I took a class and I took a CS course at MUD to just help me hone my skills a little better.
Fantastic. Just the fact that your professor was able to give you time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the requirement on the course would have stated
Yeah.
that you need some of these prior knowledge
Yeah.
already in. So
Yeah.
what kind of projects or real life applications or research opportunities do typically students do in this area of bioinformatics, biostats?
So if you talk about bioinformatics, it's more in genetic research. So you'd work in a lab and you'd do more like sequencing DNA and analyzing that sequenced DNA, which is what we did in the course as well. So like you pick an animal and then you sequence its DNA and then you'd have a question that you want to answer. Like I looked at cancer in mice, and so analyzing the mice, the DNA sequence, you can see the different kind of cancers that they're more genetically predisposed towards and all. So that's kind of what we did in bioinformatics. Biostats is much wider in the sense that we didn't just stick to problems in the life sciences. We went outside, we looked at the economy, like analyzing trends and all. So it's really interesting how you can apply all these and outside the life sciences as well.
And of course, now with the pandemic,
Yeah.
there is so much data all around.
Yeah.
What are the trends you see in application of either bioinformatics or biostats? What kind of companies and research that's coming out?
I think in light of this pandemic, the field's just gonna blow up like crazy because that's what people are using to, try to get a vaccine out faster and to kind of analyze the trends of how the virus is spreading and how quick it spreads. And, you need these skills to predict the trends of the virus and how it's going to move. And having had pandemics having been there in the past as well, you can kind of compare the trends and see where it's going to go. I mean, these skills come very much in handy, especially now.
Yeah, these are difficult times, especially for, of course, people who are suffering, but also for the frontline workers and people who are researching frantically to find something. So do you see a lot of research at campuses, which are small liberal arts colleges, which is relevant, not necessarily just to this, but overall, what is the emphasis of research at the Claremont Colleges? I know there are research institutes and all that, but what have you sort of noticed?
I personally haven't done research with any professor in the Claremont Colleges. And the only exposure I've had has been to research in bio. So generally what students do is they approach a professor whose research is somewhat in line with their interests, and then they'd ask the professor if the professor would like to hire them as like a student to like work on their research with. You don't always get it, and you don't always get your first choice of professor because professors tend to work with students like from sophomore year onwards. So if you're a junior, it's harder to get a professor of your choice. But as a senior, you're more likely to because then you end up working with that professor for your thesis as well. So either way, if you're doing bio or chemistry or physics, you get a lot of research opportunities because professors are doing something or the other all the time.
So switching gears now, if you were to look at opportunities for a biostats, biomath sort of major combination, major minor, how do you plan ahead? Like, what is it that you could be doing next after you graduate?
There are two options. Either I go straight to grad school or I look at a job. So for grad school, it's very important to look at the course structure that the schools are offering. So I was looking at a couple of schools and I was trying to look at the biostats programs, and each school biostats program has like a different topic of interest. So some are geared towards larger problems, or some are geared towards solving smaller problems. So each school also, like the kind of courses that you would be doing are very different. So in terms of grad school, I think that's really important to look at the kind of course that you'd want to do in a graduate program. In terms of jobs, it's really, you need to try to focus on a sweet spot of your interests, what you're good at, and what's going to and growth in terms of a professional sphere. So I would personally be looking at data analytics jobs, which are more geared towards the life sciences, because that's where I want to go. So you just kind of need to figure out what you want to do professionally and then just go for it.
Right. So I'm going to ask you things at Claremont. particularly at Scripps, academics or even your overall extracurricular life, which really inspired you? What are the takeaways in the 3 years? If you say, okay, non-biostats related, what are the courses or things that you really enjoyed intellectually using resources there? And of course, extracurricular, what are you involved with? What's sort of inspired you to continue sort of doing things there?
So I think just getting so academically challenged is one thing that inspired me, like taking courses that I had no background in and then working hard to kind of do it well is something that I think Scripps has really taught me, that if you come across a hurdle, it just teaches you really well how to overcome it. You have so many resources there at your disposition to help you. Like, it's wonderful, and I really enjoyed being so challenged. In terms of extracurriculars, there are so many clubs and organizations on campus. Like, there's clubs that go to a hospital, there are clubs that go to animal shelters. There's just so many different kinds of things on campus. And so I work with Doctors Without Borders. We started our own small campus club. And then I also was the financial head for the MedLife Campus Club. So it's been really interesting. Clubs are a really great way to get a little more exposure to how you it's at a small scale, but it's a good way to explore how you'd be like in a professional setting, especially if you're like kind of navigating the nitty gritties and all of the club, how it should work and all. So learning those skills I found really helpful, how to kind of come to a compromise with people. Not everyone thinks the same way, so learning how to deal with them. Being part of all these clubs definitely helped me figure that out. And then I think friends, making the right set of friends from the start is just really important because they are who you spend your entire time with.
Fantastic. So now I'm going to ask you questions which are rapid fire in nature, just to change the pace of our conversation. One is tell us, in this great lockdown period that we are all in, what are the things that you've discovered about yourself that you've worked upon, and what areas of sort of improvement or what kind of new hobbies or interests have you sort of started looking at developing?
I've been cooking a lot. I've learned that I cook well and I enjoy it a lot, and it's just something that de-stresses me. I realized that I want to learn how to do horse riding. It's something that I wanted to do since I was a kid. So, and Jersey has many horse stables, like many places you can go learn horse riding. So I think that's something that I really want to try my hand at. And I just rediscovered my love for nature. I've been reading books and all, but just going out for hikes and all is something that I realized that I need that kind of grounding factor in my life. So this quarantine has, I think that's been a great silver lining for me.
So next question. If you were to pick 3 adjectives that describe your strengths, which 3 words would you pick?
Perseverance. Like, I think I've learned how to push through obstacles. I don't know, that's really hard. I think I'm just really inquisitive and I like knowing things. So that just inspires me to learn more about whatever I'm doing. And then, I don't know, I like having fun with what I'm learning. So I don't know if that's an objective, but yeah.
That's important for sure. So now I'm going to move to just seeking your advice for our audience and kids who are applying to college and who are currently, say, in their first year, second year, since you're now in your rising senior year. So what is it that you think when life throws uncertainty, especially for kids who are supposed to go to college, but they don't know if they'll have in-person classes, or even people generally looking at this process? And there's so much awkwardness growing up as a teenager in college, in high school, and then that you're being judged for the first time, and you have to make a mark in your application. So application advice and general life advice, how to deal with uncertainty and where you don't know how you'll be judged.
Yeah. I think the best way to deal with uncertainty is head on. Just throw yourself out there. And it's, I mean, this is what I did. I dealt with a lot of uncertainty and I just threw myself out there and I took whatever came at me with like a very positive attitude and, kind of thought what the best way to navigate it would be and taking advantage of all the resources that your college has. I highly recommend it because if I didn't have the resources, I don't think I would have been able to. I don't think I'd be here. So I think that is definitely the number one way to deal with uncertainty. Take full advantage of your campus resources because they are very well trained to help you because they know they've been doing it for a while. They know how the student feels. And I've been a peer mentor for 2 years, and I like to think that I've helped my mentees a lot. And I think if you have a peer mentor, use them because they've been in the same situation you've been in. And I mean, yeah, that's how I dealt with the uncertainty, and that's how I'd recommend anyone else to. And then what was the second one? Application?
Yeah, so generally, high school kids, how do you sort of advise them to sort of deal with the application process and be the ones who are going this year? What sort of words of solace would you have if the classes are not going to be in person?
Yeah. So I think in terms of the application process, the way you did the brainstorming with me, I think was like the best thing ever because I realized things about myself that I did not know. And that helped me write my applications better because I learned new things about myself that I didn't know before. And then in terms of if classes are online, I'd say, the professors are trying their best to make things as normal as possible. Like in my experience, my professors did a really, really good job in trying to like cover everything as normally as possible. They try to simulate a classroom environment as well as possible. We get put in breakout rooms and all, which we would in class as well. So I think you won't find online classes as different as in-person classes because the professors do try to make it as normal as possible. And now they've had experience. So if classes were online, I think you won't have anything to worry about.
Thank you, Karmishta. This has been delightful reconnecting with you and hearing about your journey, about your interests academically, and also the fact that now you are peer tutoring, peer mentoring at college. I'd draw upon that resource for sure. We do have panels coming up, webinars, and we'll try to mix students with different backgrounds, talk about their not just experiences, but also answer questions. So look forward to seeing you again on those.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being
being
with us all this while. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.